Hello, everyone, and welcome to Keep Left, the podcast that looks at politics from the left perspective. Apologies for getting this up late, and for me being a little bit blurry-eyed. I may have stayed up quite late following the election returns from Britain, where the Labour Party stomped to a huge majority over the Conservative Party, where the Conservative Party almost dropped into third place. They only managed to secure about 120 seats to the Liberal Democrats' 72 seats. And the Labour Party had well over 400 seats. So it was a very good night for progressive parties in Britain. But let's turn our attention for the moment to politics here in America. Two things happened today that are worth talking about just briefly. President Biden did an interview with George Stephanopoulos on ABC News to begin the process of trying to quell concerns about his health. I don't really want to spend too much time talking about that because I think two things can be true. One is that it is certainly the case that we can be concerned about his health and his ability to take care of the job of president and of running a campaign and of defeating Trump in November. But at the same time, also recognize that the press is making far more of a deal of whatever issues Biden might have than they've ever made of anything involving Donald Trump and his fitness to be president. Whatever gaffes Biden may have committed in one night or here and there, Trump has committed a million more and has received not even a tenth of the blowback that Biden has received. And so I don't want to continue to give that much air. It will take care of itself. Either Biden will be our nominee or Harris will be our nominee. It's very difficult to see beyond those two based on how the money goes and how the Federal Election Commission lets people spend the money. And, I think either one of them can and should beat Trump in November. So it's sort of out of our hands. We'll see what happens. The other thing that happened today was the clamor around Project 2025 has reached the point where Donald Trump took the step of denying that he had anything to do with 2025 and didn't even agree with some of the things that were in it. This is rather difficult to understand since on the website, his own press secretary is shilling for it, trying to get people to send their resumes in to try to get jobs in the new administration. So it's just another lie that Trump has been telling to try to distance himself from something that is obviously becoming a drag on his appeal. Which brings us to Project 2025. We're going to break it down, like I said, in very high detail. And what better place to start, I think, than, yes, my favorite part of the book, the table of contents. And yes, that is exactly where we're going to start. So I'm going to bring you over here. Isn't it lovely? And the reason I want to start with the table of contents is not because the sections are themselves particularly egregious or, the government must be destroyed or nothing, telling like that, but really the breadth of what Project 2025 is trying to do. They're essentially trying to alter the entire federal government, leaving no stone unturned. In the process, giving so much to any big corporation, any billionaire who ever complained about government regulation, something. And we'll get into the forward at a later date. We'll talk a little bit about, we sort of touched on the contributors and the organizations that have sort of supported this endeavor. But let's sort of walk through and get a sense of, just from the contents, everything that they're trying to change. So we will start with Section 1, taking the reins of government, which includes the White House office, the executive office, and the central personnel agencies managing the bureaucracy. If you've seen the John Oliver piece on Project 2025, Section 3 is the part that talks about redefining bureaucrats so that they are defined as political appointees and therefore can be fired anytime administration changes. Now, most bureaucrats in the system are just people trying to do their jobs the best they can. They are people handling files. They are people handling claims. They are people making sure the trains run on time, making sure the tax returns get processed, making sure you get your refunds on time, and so forth and so on. And the vast majority of people in the bureaucracy, in the federal bureaucracy, are working stiffs, for lack of a better phrase. They are not political appointees. Upper management are going to be political appointees because they're the policy people, and that's pretty much how they're defined. And Chapter 3 and Section 1 is trying to do is redefine that down so that more people at lower levels are defined as political appointees. So that all these people, all these resumes that their Project 2025 are collecting, they can put functionaries in their place and have more control of the federal government. Right. It's frightening. Section 2 gets into the common defense. That is something that they are very much invested in. And notice that they are covering not just the Department of Defense, Homeland Security, state, the intelligence community, but also the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. We'll get into why they think PBS and Sesame Street, well, not Sesame Street anymore, but Nova is somehow part of the common defense. But they somehow think that should be wrapped up in that, and the Agency for International Development. But wait, there's more. The General Welfare, the Department of Agriculture, Department of Education, where I believe they pretty much want to get rid of the Department of Education. Just send money and block grants to the states for them to do whatever they want to do. The Environmental Protection Agency, pretty much the same. Department of Energy and related commissions, Department of Health and Human Services, HUD, Interior. Look, it's every single department. Labor, transportation, Veterans Affairs. They want to change each and every one of them. Let's get to the economy. The Department of Commerce, the Department of the Treasury, the Export-Import Bank, where, there's actually a moment where they're not sure what they want to do. Abolish it or keep it. A rare moment of dissent. The Federal Reserve, Small Business Administration, the case for free trade, and the case for fair trade. Well, that is one of the few places where there is a possible wedge issue for people on the right between protectionists and free trade conservatives, libertarians. It's such a tiny, tiny wedge between those two things, but that's pretty much how that goes. Section 5 talks about independent regulatory agencies. As you can imagine, they don't like them. But you've got the SEC, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, which was just recently put in place. And as you see, as we go through these things, there are fewer and fewer pages devoted to them. One imagines that just means they want them destroyed and limited. And, the very popular and very uplifting Onward, which we will talk about. Now, between them, all of these sections are just about every single part of the federal government. Every single part. And they want to change them. They want to change every single part of it. And that is their roadmap. That is their roadmap for how every part of domestic policy is located in this document. And then they put it out for everyone to read. And we will go through this, and I will be highlighting the important passages. I'll be highlighting, trying to interpret what they actually mean in the few cases where they're actually being somewhat obfuscatory, and somewhat sly about what they're pointing at. But it's not that, they're not hiding the ball, as it were. They're very serious about it. They want to change America to be a different place. And it starts in 2025. And let's face it, we've just got 5 months to stop it, And I hate to be melodramatic, but it's 5 months to save America. Anyway, thank you for watching. If you watched it this far, keep calm, keep active, and as always, keep left.